So Cover Genius, most people aren't familiar with it. How do you describe it to someone you met on the street?
Well, Cover Genius is in SureTech for embedded protection. We work with some of the world's largest digital companies to protect their global customers. And our vision is to protect them all. Every single customer that goes to our partners, we want to make sure they get the right protection product. Our global distribution platform, Xcover, enables this, right? So the digital companies we work with, they embed any line of insurance or warranty product directly into their booking platforms, their shopping carts, their registration forms. And so through a single API call, they can attach insurance or warranty products in those kind of digital platforms for their global customers. It means that there's just like all the regulatory burden, the logistical burden of offering insurance and warranties we take over, and it's an end-to-end solution. So they only need one partner, and they're able to launch consistently all around the world through us as a single partner. And we handle the claims, the licensing, payments, everything.
What have you discovered is the best way for any of these embedded financial services companies to meet partners in a way that respects the huge amount of investment you have to make into the partnership up front, and that they are going to have to make in the partnership up front, but that also has enough skin in the game that you don't get left at the altar?
I'm not saying we got it right all the time, but one thing we have learned out of this is that, it does need to be both that. It's a true partnership. We use the term partnership. We don't call our partnership team the sales team or something like that. They're not pushing a particular experience. They're actually a partnership team, and it goes back to what I was saying before about co-creating that customer experience. We're big believers in starting everything from the customer. And that goes across everything we do. I mean, if you think about it, we've got all sorts of different insurance policies, warranty policies. That's kind of in the back end of what we do. We always start with the customer. If you can work out what product, the customer needs because of what they're fearful of or what data you've got from that transaction, then the rest of the solution can be built from that. So when we start looking for partners, and this I would imagine would be across all sorts of embedded, fintech, as you were saying, you need to find partners who have a vision for what they want from their end customer, and then you need to be able to create with them that vision, and they're the most successful partners that we have. What we do find, of course, is if you do innovate and you do create one good experience with particularly, one of the large enterprise partners we have, they're almost like category killers in their space anyway, right? So if you do it well for Amazon, or you do it well for Booking.com, or you do it well with, one of the airlines, all the other airlines and all the other e-commerce players look at Amazon and go, I want to do what they do.
As you imagine advising embedded financial services companies at large, would you generally encourage founders and business development teams to go find or to cultivate that appetite for innovation and extension into insurance or into their category?
I'm a big believer in persistence. The team who I've worked with for a long time knows that we've lost partnership deals with some of our partners. Particularly at the start when you're a small company and it's, there's a bit of fear that, will they be able to deliver and these sorts of things. I'm just a massive believer in persistence. You check in and you'd be surprised these things come back to you. And we've certainly won business, 6 months, 12 months after we lost it.
Right.
And, the one they chose or the incumbent has just, done something annoying or hasn't been able to deliver, and then we get an opportunity. So I think you've got to cultivate that, and you've got to play the long game with these things. And I think sometimes that is hard for VC industry to really understand. B2B is different to B2C. I believe what we do is a lot stickier. We don't lose partners, and that's really our distribution, right? So if you're not losing your distribution at all, then you end up in a position where you're just continually adding on top of that. And And I think that creates a much more sustainable business than one that's purely marketing driven or hype driven.
If people want to drink more of the Angus Kool-Aid, where should they follow you? And who do you follow? What books have you read that really inspired you, or people have you worked with, or publications do you read that is your input and motivation and inspiration?
Oh, it's a great question. Look, the books I tend to read are ones that I just like reading. So I'm not really one who reads a lot of, self-help books and things like that. But I will say that I do listen to, speakers and podcasts and things. And one of the speakers we had recently at one of our partnership team events was Mark Matthews. And Mark is a big wave surfer. He does some of the things that I am just so fearful of, like those huge waves off Portugal at Nazaré, or, some of these crazy kind of waves in Tahiti and these sorts of places. And he surfed them all. And, but he talks about being really fearful when he was a teenager about big waves, and so what I really like about what Mark talks about is how you overcome fears. I spoke about being persistent before, but it's kind of connected to that. How do you overcome your fears? How do you become someone who you want to be, and not let fear get in the way of that? So, Mark Matthews, have a look at some of his stuff on YouTube and things. And, he's come back from, incredible injuries and all this sort of, stuff. Makes what I do look particularly easy in comparison.
He sounds very inspirational for someone who sells insurance and to people who are doing higher risk things that, that they need protection from.
I'm not sure.
Every time you sell a policy, you're like, I have Mark Matthews in mind. That guy, he's very talented, but everyone needs insurance. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Angus.